last night we saw Caitlin Clark take the last shot of her season, one that ended with an 87-81 loss to the Sun in Game 2 of the first round of the playoffs. Clark was the first one in the tunnel. Her long year of basketball over. She was chosen #1 in the WNBA draft and took a team that had won 30 combined games over the previous 4 years to its first playoff berth since 2016. Clark had a rookie record-setting year. Here she is.
I feel like basketball has really consumed my life for a year, so I feel like it'll be good for me to kind of reflect back on everything that's happened. Like, I feel like I didn't even have time to really reflect on my college career because it ended so fast, and then I came here and was trying to give everything I could to this team, and it was special. There was a lot of things that this group accomplished that, you know, a lot of people probably didn't think was possible.
All right, Caitlin finally getting a moment to breathe, right? As she just mentioned, didn't even get to reflect at all on her college career and just jumped right into things and had an epic season. How would you describe, Chiney, her historic career?
Yeah,
a year this far.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA as the most impactful women's basketball player we've seen in a generation. And it took a combination of things, both on and off the court. Off the court, attendance, viewership. On the court, breaking the single season scoring record or the all-time scoring record in college. But now you see her in the WNBA, and you can say the exact same thing. Most impactful that we've seen in women's basketball for those same two reasons. Arenas were upgraded, viewership through the roofs. But then when it comes to the basketball, what she was able to do was truly impressive. She averaged 19 and 8. For some context, I won Rookie of the Year. I think I averaged 12. It is a huge feat to get those types of numbers. After Olympic break, you mentioned it, Molly. It's like finally she can wait, waiting to exhale.
Totally.
23, 9, and 8 were her averages, bringing the Fever to the playoffs. I know that there was a big three with Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell as well. But what she has been able to do has transcended not just women's basketball, but it's women's sports in this moment. The only other athletes that I can see recently, the past generation, that have moved the needle like this, maybe Serena Williams, absolutely. Anytime she played, anytime she won titles, straight up viewership, box office. Simone Biles, we just came off of the Olympics. You look at that list. Now, the difference is Caitlin has yet to win.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about women's basketball is people are following her story. They followed her story at Iowa, now to the pros, and now people are going to continue to follow her until she hopefully gets a championship.
First of all, let's put this in its proper perspective. When I think about Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport. That's not to take anything away from anybody else, but I often argue, when I've argued with folks about this, you think NBA players shouldn't be thankful to Magic Johnson? You think NBA players shouldn't be thankful to Larry Bird? You think NBA players shouldn't be thankful to Michael Jordan? Because guess what? There were great players that were in the sport before they ever arrived, who did everything they could to make the NBA what it was. But it was when those brothers arrived that it took on an extra dimension and elevated to another level. I'm just looking at some of the numbers here. When we talk about league attendance, the Indiana Fever, all right, with Caitlin Clark, led the league in attendance both home and on the road. Fever averaged 17,035 at home, 15,000 on the road. Attendance for the entire league up nearly 50% this year, according to data from across the timeline. And Indiana leads all teams with an average attendance of, like I said, of 17,035. Merchandise sales are up 450%. I'm gonna repeat that. Merchandise sales are up 450% for the WNBA, according to Fanatics. So take those things into consideration. Yes, we're looking at the unanimous choice for AP Rookie of the Year, a first-team all WNBA, okay? 4th in the league in MVP voting, and we see all of these things. Certainly, she's going to be a great player. I think we see that. We see the capability on the basketball court. She can shoot, she can handle, she certainly can pass, okay? I look at it from that standpoint, and I say mad respect. Are there other players in the WNBA that are better? Yes, at the moment, okay? But they never did for the league in terms of attention what this person did. And when you take that into consideration and you think about what the WNBA is on course to continue to do, how women's basketball, the attention, the allure, how all of a sudden that's in the mind's eye of everybody else, you clearly have this person, Caitlin Clark, to thank for it.
Here's what shows you what an epic season this was for the WNBA as a whole. First Take did not start the show with the Dallas Cowboys, who have a game tonight, but the WNBA, rightfully so, as we should. But Stephen A., what did you think of Chiney's comp? I found interesting. Serena Williams.
In terms of comparing Serena Williams?
Moving the needle. Obviously, she doesn't have, you know, all the wins and all those accolades, but in just bringing in new viewers, etc.
Well, that definitely comes to mind because I think that, you know, Serena Williams is the GOAT. I mean, that's how I view her. I mean, I think that when you talk, she's arguably on Mount Rushmore.
Yes, and Caitlin has yet to win, has not had those accomplishments, so you can't compare it that way.
But I guess what I'm saying is, with Serena Williams, you were watching her.
Correct.
With Simone Biles, you were watching her. Caitlin Clark got you watching the league. Because it wasn't just her. You wanted to see who eventually she was going to end up going against. You saw other folks trying to get at her and trying to get at her team, and you saw fans and all of this other stuff going on, which we will get into, right? She has you transfixed on the entire league. That's why I brought up Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. That's why I brought them up. See, when I think about Serena and Simone Biles and people like that, you watch them. You watch them. But when you with Caitlin Clark, you find yourself watching the league as well.
So when you think about gratitude, we are grateful for the Caitlin Clarks. We are grateful for the Angel Reeses, the Cameron Brinks. Last year was the year of the super teams. New York Liberty, back-to-back champion Las Vegas Aces. This is the year of the super rooks. And we have an out-of-this-world rookie in Caitlin Clark in which the rising tide lifts all boats. So gratitude is there for this class, but I do think the prevalent word is respect. You mentioned that as well. This was a huge opportunity for people to not only, through Caitlin Clark's lens, respect the game, appreciate the game, and finally, with her season being done, I think people have now seen that all of the trials and tribulations, all of the debates that we've had at this desk right here, at the end of the day, she stuck through with it. She went through it. You know what I mean? And I always say you have to go through it to get to it. This is basketball. We saw her play her best basketball yesterday, trying to get her team to win. We're grateful that she has done so much to grow the game, and hopefully people can now respect it instead of trying to criticize it every step of the way.
Well, first of all, we're on First Take here, and I'm sitting across from you. So we're going to go to a very uncomfortable place, and I don't give a damn how people feel about it. I ain't scared to do it. Let me be very, very clear. There was a heightened level of sensitivity because of what you just articulated. What you articulated is a feeling. It's an emotion. It has substance. There definitely are people out there who felt exactly the way that you did, that you expressed rather. But there are an abundance of people that weren't looking at it that way at all. There are an abundance of people that have religiously respected the great talent that exists within the WNBA and the women who have done it. What has happened is that in America, you have somebody that's come along who, by the way, I'm going to go there, who happens to be white and brought a level of attention and allure to the sport it had not received before. And what we were seeing from an abundance of folks appeared to be resentment. Now, what y'all, I'm going to say this, what some of y'all missed is somebody like me saying that resentment was justified. Because as is historically the case, a lot of times there are black folks that do a lot of great, great things. And the level of recognition that should come our way doesn't come our way. For example, let's bring up Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. As great as Magic Johnson was, Magic Johnson won a championship as a rookie. That brother played center, you know, in Game 6 when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar couldn't go. And what did Michael Cooper say on the plane when they ultimately revealed it? He said, Magic Johnson said to the team, have no fear, the Magic Man is here, okay? And then went out and dropped 42 and 15 and won a championship, okay? But he still would not have been able to propel the league to new heights without the assistance of Larry Bird. And so you had an abundance of black players back in the day that were like, well, damn, as great as Larry Bird ended up proving to be, there was still some resentment towards him because you felt like, yo, did it take that in order for Magic's doing it on his own? Magic's already a champion. Why it takes all of this in order to get the attention that we deserve? I feel there were people in the WNBA that felt that way. I just didn't think it was wrong.
No, Stephen.
I just didn't. I said some.
No. This is the issue that we had, right? There are preconceived notions on how the WNBA is that people had to be educated to as it is right now.
How the WNBA is? Explain.
People perceive the WNBA to be a joke, but now we're seeing it's now a juggernaut in the sense that, hey, women should compete like this. On this very stage right here, we talked about how, hey, you said protect the golden goose. You said these words right here on First Take.
Did.
But that's not how athletes inherently are, right? We try to characterize 1 or 2 or 3 foul plays on all players, and that to me is out of pocket. That is out of line.
I agree with that.
So those preconceived notions on how women should compete are the issues, and that's why we today, Caitlin Clark, the reason why she's successful is because she embraced the WNBA. She chose to come in. She had an option to go back to Iowa, and instead decided to, hey, I'm going to go through this league because I want to be the best of the best. And she proved that she had one of the best rookie season. It is one of the most impactful players we've seen. But you have to go through it to get to it. And so when we talk about these comparisons, yes, history is repeating itself. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, that was around 30 years in the NBA. That took them off of tape delay. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, the differences that made them so captivating in March Madness, whether it is their achievement coming from LSU, coming from Iowa, it also revealed the underbellies, the crevices of our society, but still made it interesting.
That's my point.
But nonetheless, the competition remained the same. These women were fierce.
Let her finish.
These women were fierce. They competed at the highest levels. They delivered when it mattered the most, and they pushed through. And that should always be respected, and that should be the narrative.
Yes, if
people
you're talking about the competition, but see, that's the point. And in fairness to you, let me make your point even more, crystallize even more point. You know who would agree with you wholeheartedly?
Who?
Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson.
So I'm in good company. I'm cool with that.
You're in phenomenal company. So
I'm cool with that.
All right. And I've argued and debated with both about it, right? Because here was the debate. There is no debate about what you're saying as it pertained to the game. The argument that we were engaging in was that's right. Was extended.
She didn't need protecting. She did just fine.
Time out. I wasn't talking about don't touch on a basketball court or anything like that. I was saying appreciate the rising tide lifting all boats. Embrace the attention. Don't resent it.
If you watched yesterday's game, DeWanna Bonner and Caitlin Clark got into it. But guess what? Caitlin had kind of the last laugh in the sense that she still balled out and DeWanna got the win. So it was a win-win scenario. But if we say that the game is what that interaction is, that is false. The game is that it was an amazing game down to the wire where the Indiana Fever had a chance to win, but Connecticut Sun advances to conference semis like they've done so many years in the WNBA. So like that is the narrative that we need to respect and appreciate. People are grateful for Caitlin. Caitlin has been able to hold her own, and guess what? The game is better for all of that. It's not just gratitude. It's also respect.
And I would respectfully say to you, that's one of the biggest problems that hurts an abundance of industries when we're focused on literally the actual substance, but we want to ignore the allure that exists outside of it. That's what draws an audience. If people decide what they want. I didn't say they were right.
No,
I said they decide what they want. So in other words, if you had people out there that, hold on, I'll let you talk. Now you got people out there that was gravitating to Larry Bird. We knew what that was about in the 80s. We didn't like it. But you had roads to climb. You had people alluding to that was what the case was with Caitlin Clark. And I'm saying to you, yeah, it ain't necessarily right because there are players who preceded her that did phenomenal things in the WNBA, that did phenomenal things for women's basketball that should have been appreciated, but nevertheless were not. Why is that? Because the society that we live in, they decide what they want to do. We can point out how wrong it is. We can point out that that's a reality that shouldn't be a reality. But what we can't do is say, this is what matters.
Right.
That doesn't. When the audience was telling you, no, something else matters.
Let me just hold on. Let me say one thing, because I want to push this forward to Alyssa Thomas.
Sure.
Stephen A., what is the major point that you want to make here, your major thesis statement on this? Because every time Caitlin Clark comes up, I feel like there's something that you want to get off your chest in terms of this narrative, or you're frustrated.
Well, first of all, I'm not frustrated. Number two, I did get stuff off my chest on numerous occasions. I'm just reiterating my points because I think one of the things that needed to be mentioned was that even though Caitlin Clark is new to this, and even though she has proven to be a potentially sensational player, the resentment that some, not most, not all, but they say some, those who squeak get the loud, I forgot the phrase, but that stuff that was going on was real. And you see it with some of her fans. You see it with a lot of people who were looking at the WNBA and using that as a means to castigate them. People like myself, you and others certainly came to the WNBA's defense in terms of the credibility that the league has earned, that it richly deserves, the support that it has now received, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
But for years, they were not receiving that support.
The issue is that the resentment, if any, might be the minority, and it's louder than the majority who respect
And what's the problem in our
appreciate her.
society today?
The resentment lead shows. The resentment lead shows, and that's what we're talking
forget
about.
the shows for a second.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, look, if we realize that we all appreciate where the W is, and we got to keep that same energy. I see you all the time going, go New York, go New York, go. I expect you to see at the New York Liberty game. Like, I want to see that energy continued.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? If we're going to appreciate the game, let's follow through on it, keep talking about it, and I think we're all at the same place.
Let's push it forward. So